Welcome to Surviving the Side Hustle, the podcast for high performers who've gone all in, but still feeling a little stuck. I'm your host, Rob Tracy, coach, speaker, and creator of the Prime Performance Process. If you're a solopreneur, small business owner, or just launched your side hustle and you're tired of grinding with no momentum, this is for you. Every week, we bring you guests that have broke the code, generated momentum, and finally got unstuck. And we're diving into their stories, their struggles, and their secrets to generating massive momentum in both their personal and professional lives. We don't do fluff here. We do frameworks, real talk, and share the kind of insights that get you unstuck for good. Welcome, and let's get rolling. But before we dive in, I gotta remind you, if you're overwhelmed, spinning your wheels, or just tired of hustling without the results, it's time for a Prime Performance Strategy session. In this free call, we'll zoom out on your life and business, identify the real reason you're feeling stuck, and build a game plan to help you reclaim your confidence, energy, and gain some clarity so you can get back to doing what you set out to do. Lead, grow, and thrive. This isn't surface level coaching. It's a system built on resilience, intentionality, clarity, and alignment. So head over to survivingthesidehustle.com/free call to grab your spot today. Again, that's survivingthesidehustle.com/free call. Let's get going and help you look good, feel good, and do great things. What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. I'm super excited because today we've got Stanley Bronstein on. He's a former attorney and CPA with over 4 decades of professional experience, who's now entering a powerful new chapter of his life. Stanley has done what many people think is impossible. He's lost over 220 pounds, kept it off, and he's reached a place where he doesn't have to work, but he chooses to, not for money, but for meaning. What makes Stanley's story especially compelling isn't just the transformation, it's the mindset that's behind it. We'll get into a lot of this story, but from losing his mother at a young age to decades of struggling with weight and identity to finally reclaiming personal responsibility and long-term thinking, Stanley embodies what it means to stop lying to yourself and start telling the truth. In today's conversation, we're going far beyond just weight loss. It's going to be about awareness, discipline, responsibility, and really just getting into what it takes to get past what you've been going through and step into who you need to be. So help me welcome Stanley. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show.
I'm doing just fine. Having a great day today.
Good.
I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to kind of dive in. I'm glad that we got this able to get it on the calendar and kind of get this through in here. So I'd love to kind of dive right in. I know previously when we connected, we were talking about how you lived several professional lives, I guess we could say. And I'm interested to kind of dive into specifically what's made this season of your life kind of different from everything in the past.
First of all, I want to give a minor correction to your intro. I am not a former attorney and a CPA. I am still an attorney and a CPA. I'm more selective in what I choose to work on because I can, but I still do those things. First of all, I don't like the phrase season of life either. And don't take that personally, but it's a phrase that is used very often. And I don't like it because I think that's telling ourselves that is BS. I think our brains believe everything we tell it. It's like, I was reading these books that goes, you're in the second half of your life. BS. Not in the second half of my life. I'm just getting warmed up. I'm getting started. But when you tell yourself that, you might think you're going downhill. So I'm very selective about what I tell myself and what I tell my brain. I was not criticizing you. I just wanted to, elaborate on that, point that out.
Yeah.
So what has happened? Why don't I just start at the beginning and kind of take you through my evolution?
Sure, let's do it.
Okay. I was always a bright, inquisitive child. My mother, from the time I was born, fed me books, and more books. She was teaching me, math at the age of 4, 5, and 6. She was teaching me division at the age of 6.
Wow.
She was always pushing me. And looking at it in retrospect, it's because she knew she was dying. She died when she was 8. When I was 8, sorry, when I was 8. And it's obvious that she tried to teach me as much as she could while she could. And so the way it sort of played out, she didn't warn me she was dying. And for many years, I've held a lot of anger about that she didn't explain it to me because I was a bright kid. I think I could have understood. But when you think about it, how hard is it for a 48-year-old woman to admit to her 8-year-old son that she's dying? I mean, you can't do that. I mean, so, so since that time, I've kind of forgiven her for that. And I realized, what was going on her end. So picture one day I was at school. I rode my bike to school, second grade. And the lady from the office comes to the door and she says, I need to talk to Stanley. She says, Stanley, your father called. He said you rode your bike to school. He needs you to go home. It's okay for you to leave. So I'm wondering what's going on here. So I got on my bike and I left the school. I got a block away from the school. I fell off my bike. I immediately realized what happened. And I got back up on my bike and I turned stone cold, totally cold. And the funny thing about this all was many years later, I went back and I retraced my steps on that day. I didn't realize it. I was catty corner from the orphan's home at the spot where that happened. So it's kind of, an interesting spot to come to that realization that your mother was gone. So I rode my bike home. Everybody was crying. My father put me in his bedroom. He was busy making plans for the funeral and everything. And nobody paid any attention to me. I didn't cry, didn't cry, didn't cry. We got to there was a service, right before going to the cemetery at the funeral home. And I demanded that they open the casket and show me that my mother was in there. I mean, I was adamant about it. And they opened it up and they showed her in there to me. And then we went to the funeral. I did not cry. Afterwards, I did not cry. I did not cry for many years. Like I said, I was stone cold. And I was home living with my massively obese father. All my older brothers, they were much older than me, so they were out of the house. And we both literally just ate ourselves into oblivion. If you look at all my pictures from that time going forward, I just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And how most guys say, oh, I can still wear the suit that I got married in. I'm smaller than I was at the age of 13.
Oh,
I could wear the suit I got bar mitzvahed in if I still had it. I mean, that's pretty cool and pretty sad both at the same time. So we so over time kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Went off to college, and my senior year in college, I lost some weight, quite a bit of weight, as a matter of fact. And then I went on a driving trip with a friend of mine, and there were cookies in the back seat. I ate the cookies, boom, weight came back on, plus more and more and more and more. Fast forward to the age of 28, 29, 30, I was about 367 pounds at the time, maxed out. I was working with my older brother, and I was already a CPA at the time. I was working with my older brother, and we got into an argument. And in the middle of the argument, he says, you ought to go to law school. And I said, you're absolutely right. And I signed up for the LSAT. 4 months later, I was in law school. I went at night. 4 months later, I was a lawyer. Totally changed my life. Now, there's a moral to that story. The moral to that story is you can be talking to someone who is totally full of crap, which he was. But you should listen to what they're saying because some words of wisdom might accidentally come out of their mouth. And the words of wisdom were that I should go to law school. And I did. Changed my life, no doubt about it. So, like I said, I was around 367 at the time. My last year of law school, again, I joined Weight Watchers, lost 100 pounds. Just got down in like 260s, something like that. Didn't get any lower than that. Started eating again, putting on more weight, kept hovering around 260, 270 or so. I was still big, but I looked good enough to where I was able to get married. I went out with girls. I, tried to go out with girls so some of them would go out with me. Wound up getting married. Still married to her this day. Over the years, my weight ballooned back up to 320, not the full 367, but 320. And the reason it never got to the 367 was that Weight Watchers taught me a few habits along the way. One of them was I used to get up in the middle of the night and I would eat full meals in the middle of the night. And I mean full meals.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah, in the middle of the night. And yeah, it's hard work to be 367. It really is. You have to work at it. So the way I broke that was I was buying those Weight Watchers frozen dinners, with the pictures on the package.
Mm-hmm.
I had a bunch of them in my freezer. I'd still wake up in the middle of the night wanting to eat. I would go to the freezer. I'd pull the package out of the freezer. I would focus on the picture on the package. I would look at the picture. I would imagine what it tasted like. And I said, that was good. And I put it back in the freezer and I went back to sleep. So visualization, I broke myself of that. So I never got back to the full 367 because that was a permanent change. So I didn't realize it at the time, but temporary changes are going to give you temporary results. Permanent changes are going to give you permanent results. That was a permanent change. And
Love that.
we talked more about this, going on. So I got up to 320. I was 4 months away from my 50th birthday. Typical milestone for guys. And it was February 1st, 2009, not January 1st, because my New Year's resolution was to do something, but I skipped it. Like a bunch of people are probably going to do. This is December 26th as we're recording this. A lot of people are going to do that again. So there's another message in the story. Just because you missed your New Year's resolution or didn't stick to it doesn't mean you can't pick it up later, because you can. Okay. Then, so I sat there and I was in bed and I was thinking to myself, Stanley, where are you going to be in 5 years if you don't start changing things? And I did not like the answer, because the answer was, if I don't change something in 5 years, I was going to be dead. That's about as brutal as it gets. So
Yeah.
I asked myself the cold, hard question. I've coined a term for that. I wasn't committing suicide. I didn't put a gun to my head, but I was committing slowicide.
Mm-hmm.
My habits, I was slowly eating and drinking myself to death. So I sat there and I turned to my wife, and these are quotes that I'm doing here. So I'm going to give you the full Corey quotes. I sat there and I said, I'm going to start making some changes in my life right now. I'm going to start learning to eat better now. And I'm going to start exercising now every day. And my exercise of choice is going to be walking. I'm going to stop tolerating bullshit in my life. And the first person I'm going to stop tolerating it from is myself. And I told her I'm going to start. So I took personal responsibility. That's another key point of this. And you notice I didn't blame myself, but I did take personal responsibility, because blame is irrelevant. Blame is a waste of time. And I wish someone would tell our politicians that, because blaming each other accomplishes nothing. Just fix the problems, please. So I said, I'm going to start making changes. And I told her some of these changes, I said, you may not agree with them and you might not like them. And if you don't, I don't care, because I have to make these changes or I am going to be dead.
Yeah.
And And just so you know, we're still married. So, but I always tell people that was 17 years ago. But that was a rude awakening that day. I call that day my rebirth day, February 1st. And in a little over a month and a half, less than a month and a half, I'll be celebrating my 17th rebirth day. Then I'll be on to year 18. So I immediately stopped drinking alcohol. I wouldn't say I was an alcoholic, but I would definitely say I was drinking too much. So I quit. Because another thing to learn with some people, especially ones with addictive personalities like me, sometimes abstinence is better than moderation. Sometimes abstinence is easier than moderation. So I just said, I'm not going to drink. It's not that I'm going to cut back my drinking. It's not that I can have a drink every so often. I don't need it. It does not serve me. I was serving it. That's another thing. If you have a habit, ask yourself, is it serving you or are you serving it? If you're serving it, it should go. So I said, there goes the alcohol. I haven't had a drink in 17 years, and believe me, I don't miss it. And to be honest with you, it's very interesting when you go to parties when everyone else is drinking. You have an interesting experience when you watch everybody else. I stopped drinking soda pop, those 2-liter bottles of soda. I was drinking the diet Pepsi, caffeine free. So it was diet and it was caffeine free, but it was still garbage. I was drinking 3 of those a day.
Wow.
Gone. Haven't had one in 17 years. Don't miss it. I take that back. Occasionally it'd be nice to have one, but again, abstinence is easier than moderation. Don't need it. And I quit eating red meat, beef and pork. Still ate chicken and turkey. And I never liked fish, so that wasn't a problem. So I was doing all those things and I started walking pretty much every day. In the beginning, I was so big, I did the walking in a pool because, up chest high water because it was easier, didn't tear my body up.
Yeah, smart.
And then as I got better, I started walking outside. Fast forward another 4 or 5 years down the line, I said, I'm going to go vegetarian. I gave up chicken and turkey. Still ate eggs. Gave those things up. And again, didn't really miss them. And I made good chicken wings. I make the best chicken wings you ever had, but haven't had them in over 12 years and I'm still alive. So lost more weight and I had to persist. It wasn't a straight line. There were zigs and zags. Some days were better than others. But the goal is that over time, I was getting better and better and better. And see, that's another thing. Some people think you have to get better every day. I always tell people the goal is to beat yesterday, be better today than you were yesterday, better tomorrow than you are today. Sometimes staying even maintenance is in and of itself a win.
I love that. Yep.
Seriously, you didn't fall off the wagon. Everything didn't turn to shit. That's a win. And you need to remember that. So over time, I lost more weight. Then I got down to about 7.5 years ago. I couldn't get the last 50, 60 pounds off. And my weight kept fluctuating. It went 180 to 220, 180 to 220, back and forth. All while I was walking, my walking activities had picked up. I was literally walking 13, 14, 15 miles a day. And all from a person who was a couch potato. Because it's, improvement, little improvement over time.
Yeah.
So, but I couldn't get that weight off. So I said, I can't get the weight off. And I'm walking that much. I said, I'm doing something wrong here. So I started looking at what I was doing. Now, here's an interesting thing. I had a massage therapist who I was going to at the time. She was actually a Rolf therapy. I don't know if you ever heard of that.
Yep.
Great lady. And she's a former Buddhist nun. I used to love to speak with her because it was so calming. It's so pleasant to speak with her. So she was working on me one day and I was looking up at her like this while she was working on my neck. And I told her that, I really need to stop eating bread, butter, cheese, and ice cream. I really need to do that. And I said, I know I need to do it. I know I need to do it. I know I need to do it. That once again, New Year's was rapidly approaching. I sat there and she looked at me and she said, Stanley, what's keeping you from doing this? Here's another point where you need to listen to wise people. Here's what's keeping me from doing this. And I turned and looked at her and I said, not a damn thing. So I made up my mind come New Year's, I was going to stop eating bread, butter, cheese, and ice cream, essentially go vegan. I had given up eggs by that time, so eventually go vegan or
Mm.
whole food plant-based, because there's a difference between vegan and whole food plant-based. You can be vegan and eat Oreos and all kinds of other crap, all kinds of processed food. Whole food plant-based doesn't eat processed food, and that's much better in a lot of ways. So I said, I'm going to do this starting January 1st. Well, guess what? Got to be about December 27th or so. And I said, what am I waiting for? I don't need to wait till January 1st. I started then. So you see, I'm improving. That's another improvement. I'm getting stronger. I don't need to wait for an artificial date, or anything. I wait from missing the start date, January 1st, to starting ahead of the start date. See improvement over time, mindset over time. And I said, I wonder if I can get that last weight off. Well, I lost 50 or 60 pounds in like 5 minutes. I mean, the weight just came off of me. It was unbelievable. And so I've maintained that ever since. And now, I eat nothing but whole foods. And I'll show you, this is my new project right over here. That's my hydroponic garden that I
Mm.
just started. The stuff is just starting to sprout. That's what I'm starting for the new year. And the reason why it's in my office is because my wife would not let me put it anywhere else in the house. So it's in my office. So that's fine. Um, so um, so I did all those things, and I've maintained the weight since that time. And if you look back the last 12 years, I've only been sick one time in the last 12 years, and that includes COVID. I didn't get sick during COVID. My wife got COVID and she brought COVID into the house. I felt mildly bad for 2 days. I could tell I was exposed to something, but my body threw it off. Now, mind you, I had the vaccine, but still my body threw it off and I didn't get sick because, again, when you eat healthy food, healthy inputs, healthy food, healthy thoughts, healthy exercise, healthy people around you, you get better results and you get stronger. And so now, I mean, I've got my physical next month. My doctor is going to ask me, what do I do? Every year, he says, what have I been doing? Because it's always good, and, and I like him because he's healthy as well. And he doesn't, a lot of people, when they hear what I do, they criticize it or they don't want to do it. He understands it and he appreciates it. So that's important that you have supportive people around you. Now, I want to emphasize a point here.
Mm.
Along a couple of points. One, along the way, I turned my experience into a system because that's the CPA part of me. I like systems. I have made a living my entire career in taking complicated things and breaking them down into pieces and making them simple. So I came up with a system called the Way of Excellence, which is on the chart
Hmm.
all behind me. I don't know, the picture may be backwards. The way
No, it
you
looks good. You can see
okay,
it.
yeah. So the way you're looking at it, it's just backwards for me. Okay. So it I created the system. And the beauty of the system is it can be replicated by other people for anything. Doesn't just apply to weight loss, you know, or anything. It applies to anything in your life. It is essentially a human operating system. That's what I call it. A human operating system. Think of it as Windows 11, Mac, Linux for human beings,
Yeah, I like it.
is what it is. And it gives you all kinds of steps, all kinds of guides. And the number one principle is awareness. You know, stop bullshitting yourself, telling yourself the truth, and then acting upon that truth. Then, second one's long term thinking. Stop focusing on short term pleasures, focus on your long term, do things that are working long term. Third one is taking personal responsibility, which is what it did. And, there's a whole list of the things, going past that. We don't have time to go into all that. All of this, the whole system is on my website, thewayofexcellence.com, which I believe Rob is going to put in the show notes.
Yep.
And if you go there, not only can you see the whole system, there are videos on the whole system. There's 5, 6, 7, 8 minute videos on each one of the 20 parts of the system. He explains them to you. There are free copies of all 5 of my books that are in that system. And the reason, and they're digital copies, PDF copies, or you can, put copies to put on your tablet, or you can read them online on the website. And the way it is, I have it broken down where you can read it. And the reason why I made it free is it's my way of giving back for all the wonderful things that have happened to me. I am at a stage in my life. I am 66 now. As you mentioned in the intro, I do not have to work. I could retire right now. I don't want to. I am just getting started because this whole experience taught me 3 things. The third of which applies to every person who's listening to this. So pay attention carefully. This is one of those words of wisdom that may accidentally come out of someone's mouth. Okay. The first thing it taught me was I am more powerful than I ever imagined. And mind you, I've always been a pretty confident guy. My mother taught me to be confident. But it taught me I'm even more powerful than I ever imagined. Second thing it taught me is that if I accomplish this, what else is out there waiting for me to do that I haven't done yet? And that's what the way of excellence is. And then the third thing it told me is that if I am more powerful than I ever imagined, so is everyone else. I am no more special than you. Rob is no more special than you. We are all special. We are all more capable than we ever imagined. You just need to learn how to activate it. So that's the whole thing in a nutshell. I'm going to kind of backtrack a minute, unless you've got a question or two right now.
Yeah, I mean, I got a couple questions. I got a bunch of questions, but I'd love to kind of hear where you're still kind
Okay.
of going with
Let me
this.
backtrack and we'll save the questions toward the end. And I'm here as long as you want.
Sure.
Okay. Along the way, I had to do some healing. And my journey with my mother really took healing from my mother's death really took 3 phases. The first one was in the beginning, I shut down. I was stone cold and it affected me. It affected me in my relationships. I was an angry, bitter child. I still did well in school, but I was bitter and angry in many ways, and it affected me. Then, fast forward 30 years, my mother's sister, one of my aunts, died. And I went to her funeral in New Mexico. And when I walked into the cemetery, there was standing right in front of me 2 young children. One was about 9 and the other one was like 6. They were my cousins, basically the grandchildren of my aunt who died. And I looked at them. One of them, the 6-year-old, was standing all by himself and he was stone cold. He was not crying and he had a look on his face like he was dumbfounded and he didn't know what to make of it. And a couple of things happened right then and there. I sat there and I said, that's me. I met myself. And I said, I will be damned if I'm going to let what happened to me happen to this kid who I'd never met him before, my cousin. I walked up to him. I introduced myself to him. I told him, I'm your cousin. I told him, I know exactly how you feel. I told him what happened with my mother and how I felt the same way when she died. And I put my arms around him and I told him it's okay for him to cry. And I did not let go until he cried. And let's just say all of the tears that I did not cry at my mother's funeral 30 years earlier, I cried them that day. Boy, did I cry. I promise you, I cried more for my aunt than anybody's ever cried for their aunt. I can promise you that. And so that was that part. But while it gets even more interesting to show you how raw this whole experience was for me. Rob's laughing because he knows what's coming. There was an older man in the cemetery, and he was Orthodox. And Orthodox Jews do not believe that children should be at funerals. They don't think children should be at cemeteries. And he sat there out loud in front of a bunch of other people. He said, what are these children doing at this funeral? Children don't belong at cemeteries. Well, I snapped. He hit a nerve. And boy, did he hit that nerve. I turned to him in front of all these people and I said, that was their grandmother. If there's anybody that belongs at this funeral, it's those two kids. And if there's anybody that doesn't belong at this funeral, it's you, you son of a bitch. You can leave right now. And I said that probably in front of 20 other people. And needless to say, he shut up and he didn't say another word. And that too was part of the experience. But for me to sit there in public and do something like that shows you how sensitive that whole moment was for me and how it hit. And it shows you how life sometimes goes in circles. Then a little bit later, right before COVID hit, the December right before COVID hit in like February, March, when the shutdown occurred, I was back in Texas and I had some time to kill. So I drove down to Galveston, which is where I was born and where both my parents are buried. And I sat there and it was, mind you, this was December. It was like around December 21st or something. And it was a gorgeous day. Sun was overhead. It was right around noon. Gorgeous day. I had an hour or two to kill before I needed to go back to Houston to go to the airport to fly home because I was there on business. So I sat there. I laid down between my mother and father's grave. And I sat there and I talked to them for an hour. Told them everything I've done. I told them I forgive them for everything they did to me. And I love them for everything they did for me. And thank you very much. And then I said I have to leave, and then I left. And before all that, I did something else that was interesting. I retraced my steps in Galveston, the whole journey. And that was the second time I retraced my steps. The first time I was in Galveston with my wife, and I went back to my elementary school, and the lady actually let me in, and we went back to the classroom when I told her the story. So I was tracing on this. I went back to my childhood home. And the people who owned it knew me because it was the same people my father sold it to. They lived there, for many years. And I rang the doorbell. She let me in. Her husband had just died that year. It's right before Christmas. She was baking cookies with her kids. And I turned to her and I said, I'm sorry to hear about your husband. He was a very lovely man. And I hugged her and I thanked her and I said, I very much appreciate what you've done with this house because it is obvious to me that you have made this house into a home. And I appreciate that. And I did all those things and then I went back to Houston, caught my plane and I went home. So that was, part of, closed circle, closing it all. So it's important to close these loops and you can heal at any time. but it's important to realize this. Now, do you have any questions?
Yo, what's up? Sorry for interrupting. It's me, Rob. If you've been listening and thinking, man, I just know I'm capable of so much more, but something's just really not clicking, well, I've got something for you. It's called the Prime Performance Personality Quiz. And in just a few minutes, you'll uncover what's actually slowing you down. So, whether it's a mindset block, energy drain, or a lack of clarity, this quiz is going to give you specific insights to help you build momentum again. Again, this quiz is free, fast, and honestly, freakishly accurate. So take it now over at survivingthesidehustle.com/quiz and stop spinning, start winning today. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to kind of unpack there, and I thank you for sharing the stories and the different journey that you've been through. And as I'm sitting here, kind of listening and bringing in a lot of information from when we spoke before and what you're sharing now, you've mentioned a lot of times where like awareness is this like starting point for a lot of these different changes and everything that's kind of happened through your life and journey. So I'm just curious is like, what is your definition or what is real self-awareness look like? Because I feel like a lot of people kind of go through this and they're like, yeah, I'm aware of what's going on, but what is real self-awareness kind of looking like?
Awareness has two parts.
Okay.
Ask me how many years I was aware that I needed to lose weight.
How many years did you realize
Or
that you
I knew for 42 years I needed to lose weight. I was aware. Ask me when I acted on it
when did you act on it?
in the 42nd year. It's like, you know, so people ask me, did I change my life in an instant? And the answer is yes and no. I did change my life in an instant, but it took me 42 years to get ready to change my life in an instant. My goal and the reason why I created the system is it doesn't need to take you 42 years. It can take you 5 minutes, or whatever.
Mhm.
You can change your life right now. It's taking action. Tony Robbins puts it a different way. He says, never leave the scene of a decision without taking action on that decision. I'm paraphrasing him, but he essentially says that. And I had heard him say that. I actually went to one of his seminars many years ago and, listened to his books, that kind of thing. Heard him say that, but didn't really act on it and didn't really realize it until the time. So self-awareness is action. Think about Alcoholics Anonymous, any 12-step program. They tell you, admit you have a problem. You might know you have a problem, but admitting is different than knowing you have a problem. Admitting you have a problem and then acting on it. So it's action. You have to take action. But if you follow concept number 6 in the system, I told you about 1, 2, and 3.
Mhm.
Concept number 6 in the system is perspective. Change your perspective. You don't have to do a damn thing. You are alive. You get to do everything. I didn't have to lose weight. I don't have to lose weight. I get to lose weight. I don't have to eat better. I get to eat better. I don't have to start walking. I get to go walking. Let me share some examples with you on that. One of my older brothers, Mike, he died at the age of 60. He had put on a lot of weight, and I had told him for years that he needed to start doing something about it, but he didn't. He's dead. He's gone. He doesn't get to do any of these things anymore. I'm still alive. I get to do these things. You're still alive. You get to do these things. Okay. Another lady I met in Honolulu, back in 2007. I interviewed her for a book I wrote. Her name was Peggy Chun. She was an artist. Her grandmother and twin sister both died from ALS, Lou Gehrig's disease. Both of them. She woke up one day and her legs their legs were weak. And she said to herself, "Oh shit, I know exactly what this is." She didn't have to go to the doctor. She knew what it was because she'd seen it happen twice before. By the time I met her, she was completely bedridden on a ventilator, could not speak. The way she communicated was by eye movements. People would hold up an eye chart and they knew how to read her eye movements and she could spell out words. So I conducted a 20-minute interview with her. It took like 2 or 3 hours.
Wow.
And this woman, I mean, I was thinking at the time that if I'm in a situation like that, please put a pillow over my head and take me out. And this woman had the most incredible joy for life and spirit for life anyone I've ever seen. And the chapter I wrote about her was, what would you do if you had unlimited time to think? Because that's essentially what she had, unlimited time to think, and that's all she could do. And I told her I was going on a book tour where I was going around the country and I was going to interview all these people. And she was literally the second person because she was in Hawaii. She was the second one I interviewed. And I told her about the trip. She said, "Oh, I wished I could go with you. That sounds so wonderful. You're going to meet all these fantastic people." She told me her kids are coming over later. Her grandkids are coming over later that day. We're going to paint together and all kinds of stuff. This woman had incredible joy for life. So, and then a little bit more of her story. As I was going around the country, she left me a message. She explained something to me, and I didn't understand what she was talking about.
Mhm.
It didn't totally click with me. It didn't make sense. And as I was going around the country, I was having dinner with a friend in Chicago. And she brought another one of her friends to dinner, and I told her the story. And I said, "I don't know what she was trying to tell me." And she said, "Stanley, she was trying to tell you this." And I'm like, I got up and I went and I hugged her. And I said, "Thank you. I've been trying for over a month to figure out what it was she was trying to tell me. And you just explained it to me. Thank you very much." And so, so, and this was all before I started on February 1st, 2009, 2 years before. Or actually about a year and a half. So I sat there, and when it came time to go walking in the morning, you know, the old saying, "What would Jesus do?"
Yeah.
I didn't feel like getting up in the morning. I said, "What would Peggy Chun do if she could?" And the answer is, if she could, Peggy Chun would have gotten her lazy ass out of bed and she'd have gone walking and she'd have never come back. So I started walking for Peggy Chun. And I still remember her to say, she's one of those people. I've had 3 or 4 people you meet in your life who you will remember for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
She's one of those people. So, the things that you learn. So that's what awareness is, taking a decision on it, cold, hard reality, and taking action. And I help people with that action phase all the time. You're welcome to download my books. You're welcome to watch the videos. If they help you, wonderful. If you want to work with me personally, privately, you can do that too. If you want to join one of my groups, you can do that too. On the website, at the very bottom of the website, it says if you have questions or you want to talk about working with me, click here. There's a link. You can email me. You know, you got that. You can contact me. But that's what awareness is, making a decision. Does that make sense?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I love that too. And I know, like, you're talking about awareness, and then a lot of what you're also talking about here is the, like you said, perspective shift and the change. And earlier,
Yeah.
when you were talking about the weight loss and such, you had the shift from this like short term thinking about the types of foods and things that you were eating, the quick fixes, the meals in the middle of the night, and then you started shifting into this long term thinking about the
Yes.
bigger picture. What does shifting into that long term thinking unlock that, like, that short term just ends up destroying.
Okay. It gives you power. When you're
Really?
focused on only on the short term, you're mortgaging your future.
Hmm.
You know, you when you start thinking for the long term, you're investing in your future. You know, I eat like my life depends on it because it does. Um, I want to live a very long, very healthy life. I already know I'm going to live a very long, very healthy life. And you know how I know that? I've always had a gift for being able to see things before
Hmm.
they happen. And my senior year, when I was in the fraternity, we had our senior banquet, and there were like 20 of us who were all seniors in the fraternity. And one person pulled out a bottle of brandy. Do you know what a tontine is? You ever heard that term?
A tontine? No.
Tontine, Tonteen. A tontine is a pledge. We all signed that bottle, and we made a pledge that the last person living was going to drink that bottle and was going to remember everyone else. And I immediately started crying. And everybody turned to me and they said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "Because I'm going to be the one who drinks that bottle." I sat there and I said that right then and there. And here's the funny part to show you this, it just clicked on me. That bottle has been misplaced. Nobody knows where it is. Even the person who started was supposed to keep it in safekeeping. He doesn't know where it's at. So that just tells me, since I don't drink alcohol anyway, when it comes time, I'll drink some water or something else to everybody. Yeah, it's the thought that counts,
Mm.
not the booze. Um, but and if you want to know more about tontines, there's a whole episode of MASH, the TV show that's about that. Um, that they have in that. But so I know it, and I see this, and I want to be healthy. Which brings into something that I call the four factors, which are concepts 16, 17, 18, and 19 in the system. It's getting toward the end.
Mhm.
You can do everything in the first 15 concepts, but they don't mean a damn thing unless you're willing to do what it takes permanently. As I said before, temporary changes are going to give you temporary results. Permanent changes are going to give you permanent results. You want permanent results? You need to make permanent changes. But as I said before, you don't need to do anything. You get to do it. It's your privilege. So willingness, then belief. If you believe you can, or you believe you can't, either way, you're right. And as I mentioned before, I've learned that I am more powerful than I ever imagined. I exceeded my own beliefs. So I encourage you to do the same thing. I don't know you, I haven't met you, but I know you are more powerful than you ever imagined. So start thinking that way. Your body, your mind pays attention to what you're telling it. Then there's discipline, forming new habits. You know, everybody says at the beginning of the year, you need to be motivated to go to the gym. It's January 1st, I'm motivated to the gym. Well, guess what? Motivation's going to wear off. By February 1st, most of those people who are motivated to go to the gym aren't going to be going because they're not motivated. Believe me, I had days where I wasn't motivated to go walking, but I did it anyway. To show you how crazy it is, since that day, I track my mileage. I have walked over 70,000 miles.
Shoo.
17 years. I have, if you picture the circumference of the earth around the equator, I have walked the circumference of the earth 2.9 times
Yeah.
over the last 17 years. Next year, I'll break 3. And, and that's all from a guy who used to sit on his butt on the couch who couldn't walk half a block. So these are things you can do. You can change. So, but discipline, building new habits, positive habits, you know, changing your identity. You mentioned identity. I am a person who eats healthy every day. I am a person who does not allow unhealthy food to enter his mouth. We went to Europe for 9 days last year. I'm probably the only person who lost weight when they were in Europe because I didn't go to restaurants. I didn't eat garbage. I only ate healthy food because I am a person who eats healthy food. I had someone I work with, they delivered cupcakes, gourmet cupcakes to me last week. What did I do with the cupcakes? Was I tempted to eat them? No. I sat there, I gave them to my wife. My wife was smart enough. She's not overweight, but my wife was smart enough. She gave them to one of our neighbors. Of course, she ate one first, but but that's okay. She did that, and so because I'm disciplined. I walk every day. I put my clothes out on the nightstand alongside my bed before I go to sleep. And I wake up, first thing I do is I put them on, I go stretch, and I either go out the door and walk in, or I go to the gym and go walking on the treadmill, or I go in the other room in my house and walk on the treadmill. But I do it every day, and I walk for a little while, then I meditate, and then I do other things, and I go walk some more. And I do that for like 3-4 hours. Then I eat my breakfast. And it's a healthy breakfast, and it's a big breakfast, and it's a good breakfast. But I do those things. So discipline. And there's power in discipline when you do that. And I'm talking about self-discipline, not punishment. And once again, people say, Stanley, look at all the things you gave up. I didn't give up a damn thing. I'll give you an example. I'll tell you something I did give up. I was in Costco a year or so ago, and we had a bird feeder in our neighborhood. And I went and I bought 4 50-pound bags of bird seed in the back of the store. And I bought one of their, dolly trailers, whatever, to carry it. Put 4 50-pound bags on this thing, 200 pounds. And I'm sitting there huffing and puffing while I'm pushing it through the store. And it dawned on me, I used to carry all that weight on my body. And that gave me a whole different perspective on this. So again, there's power and discipline. Then number 19, commitment. When you become 100% committed to doing something, it becomes much easier. You know why? Because there are no decisions to be made. I am 100% committed to eating healthy. I made a decision many years ago that I was only going to eat healthy food. I don't ask myself every day, am I going to eat healthy today? I don't have to make that decision. I don't have to ask the question. I don't have to ask myself, am I going to drink alcohol today? No, because I already said I'm not going to drink alcohol. Am I going to drink soda today? No, because I don't do that. Am I going to take a day off from walking? No, because that's not who I am. I changed my identity. If you want 100% results, you need to be 100% committed. Because when you're 100% committed, everything becomes so much easier. And once again, perspective is part of it. I didn't give up anything. I gained everything. And I'm going to write a book on that in the near future, which is going to be, I gave up nothing and I gained everything.
I love that.
And then wrapping it all up, the whole system in a nice, neat bow, concept number 20, integration of mind, body, and spirit. You can't see it because you don't have it in front of me, but I have a symbol. You'll see it when you go to the website, thewayofexcellence.com. That's 3 parts. It's like a Chinese yin yang that's got 3 parts, mind, body, and spirit, instead of 2 parts. And there's this little figure in the middle standing there like this. That's where you want to be. That's the still point. You want to be equal parts mind, body, and spirit. And you know why? Because your mind is fed by your body and your spirit. Your body is fed by your mind and your spirit is fed by your mind and body. You want them all to be working together in harmony. See, my problem when I started, my body was out of whack. My mind was where all my attention was going. Work, become an attorney, become a CPA, think. Everything was mental. That's where everything was going. It
Mhm.
was when I started taking care of my body, bringing my body into balance with my mind. And the funny thing was, at some point, my body was, I had to bring my mind back into balance with my body, because I went kind of that far.
Yeah.
And all of this strengthened my spirit and made me want to get up every day and made me want to do these things. So you want to be equal parts mind, body, and spirit because they feed each other. And that's when you become your strongest. And this is all about, and it's like, do you see the movie Fantastic Four?
Yeah, the older one.
Okay. The Human Torch.
Mhm.
Flame on. You want you want to ignite your inner flame. That's what this is all about. And I promise you it's there and you can do it.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Stanley, I want to thank you so much for taking the time to kind of share all of this. We covered a lot between resilience, emotional balance, commitment, discipline, way of excellence, all of these different things. And I appreciate you sharing your experience and your insights with me and with the entire audience. And this was some powerful stuff. A great episode. And before we kind of wrap up, I want to just confirm that the website is thewayofexcellence.com.
That's correct.
Awesome. So everybody listening, make sure you go check that out. It's the easiest to get in contact with you via the website.
Yeah, just go to the website at the bottom. There's a link. So it's click here. Click it. You can email me.
Awesome. I
No,
love that.
no, no spam, please.
And I love it. I love it. Appreciate this so much, this conversation. But before I let you go, I'd love to just ask you one final question here. So if
Sure.
somebody listening to this episode takes this to heart, they really feel it, and they make one change, just one, and they take from this, what do you hope that that one change is?
They change their beliefs. They believe that they can. There's a whole book on that on the website. It's called The Way of Can I, subtitled Yes, You Can. And it's just get started because it compounds on each other. Okay. You know the old saying, you want to be 1% better today than you were yesterday?
Hmm.
At the end of a year, you'll be 37 times better. At the end of 2 years, it'll be like, you know, 2,000 times or something like that. I don't remember what the exact number is. Well, I am in year 17 of compounding. I sit there and I asked ChatGPT the other day and we calculated it. I am like 700 or 800 septillion times better than I was 17 years ago. And it's true because I'm not the same person I was 17 years ago. I'm not. And one last thing I'm going to add that I didn't mention. Do I have any regrets for what I put myself through? The answer is no, I don't, because it was necessary to put myself through that to learn what I know now. And what I know now is powerful. And that's why I'm sharing it with you. And if you notice, I haven't asked you for any money. Not asking you for any money. I'm not even telling you have to join my email list in order to get my books. If you go to my website, you'll see the books are there for free. And at the very bottom, it says, if you want to join my email list, you can, but you don't have to. And that is because the mission is more, and it's not because I don't like money. It's because the mission is more important than the money. The mission is that we start fixing this crazy world, this crazy, wonderful, fantastic world that we live in. This crazy, messed up, yet wonderful country we live in, the United States. We need to start fixing these things. And to fix these things, it starts with me, it starts with you, and it starts with everybody listening. That's how you change things. You change the world by changing yourself. Or as Gandhi said, be the change you want to see in the world.
Boom. Mic drop. That was impressive. I love it. I love that wrap up too. Stanley, thank you so much, man. This was an incredible conversation and wonderful episode. Love to have you back in the future. Thank you.
Cool.
And I hope you have a great, happy new year, Stanley.
You too. Thank you.
All right, guys. That's all we've got for today. Until next time, catch you guys later. Peace, peace, peace. And that's it for this episode of Surviving the Side Hustle. If you found this valuable, the best way to support the show is to rate and review on Apple or Spotify. It helps get the show in front of more driven individuals just like you, and helps them discover the tools to get unstuck, break through burnout, and build something real. And you can always connect deeper with me, our guests, or grab free resources at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. Whether it's a strategy call, the Prime Performance Personality Quiz, some of our products, or just to check out our free content library, connect with us over at survivingthesidehustle.com/Rob. And hey, remember this, you weren't meant to just grind. You were built to grow. So stay conscious, stay committed, and keep showing up. Peace, guys.